Hello, my name is Jason Tiedick, and I've got something incredible to share with you that'll change the way you look at classroom training. I'm not going to sell you on the importance of classroom training. If you're viewing this video, you already know it's an essential aspect of any training strategy. If you're looking to raise your ROI, engage employees who are disengaged, or just make the workforce a lot more fun, then you've come to the right place. So what exactly will you be learning in this classroom training masterclass? Well, for starters, you'll learn how to create trust with each trainee before the class even starts. You'll also be learning how to use proven techniques to generate more credibility and more rapport. Look, I can go on and on about the pain points we'll be solving in this mastery course. Or you could do yourself a big favor and check out our course page today and see how we'll get you to the point where you can motivate any trainees while simultaneously increasing engagement and retention in less time. It's your call. Let this opportunity pass you by or answer the door when opportunity comes a-knocking. I look forward to seeing you on the inside. And now we're going to talk about how to keep them engaged all the way up to how to teach all your learners. This piece right here is the one I said all the trainers, teach all learners, want to start with. And I mentioned last time there's a whole bunch of stuff you have to do before we get there. We just did that on day one. Now what we're going to do is spend an entire day on just this section right here. It's called the agree and see if you're right. And this is powerful on page 129 because in my opinion it's the #1 technique on the planet to engage people. How do you do it and how is it even going to accomplish this engaging all these people? Watch this. You can draw this with me. Draw a quadrant on the left side of page 120 in the margin somewhere. And what were the learning styles again? What was up here? Step. What's the opposite of step? Create. What's another one? Research. What's the opposite of research? Talk. Now watch this. I actually did, by the way, that's another great directional. Watch this. It's their brains over here. This becomes a 3-step method on pages 120, 121, and 122 that is crazy cool for your classroom. But what we're going to do now, which is on page 126, and I love this picture. This is you, the trainer, and this is the trainees following along, is we're going to teach you how to do what's called get them to follow the bouncy ball. Which, by the way, is where most trainers stop. Most trainers, when they do this, look up here, will just learn how to engage them and get follow along, but they don't really know how to make it easier to understand. We're going to talk about the fast trainees and the slow trainees and how to make sure that you get all of them to follow you. If you don't do what I'm about to show you, that loses all of its power. You go ahead and hook them all you want at the beginning. You don't keep them hooked? Think about fishing. How does that work when you go out and catch a fish, you hook the fish, and then you don't reel them in effectively? What happens? What's the fish do? They lose. They get loose. Here's what you want to do. So I'm going to show you in this chapter how to help them get it, even for the most challenging concepts. The etch-a-sketch is any place on page 138, you can read this with me at the top. It's a note-taking device feature of training materials for key ideas and important details presented during a lesson. Look what it says. I'm going to keep reading. Instead of having trainees take notes in the margins, you give them a structured box to take the note. You've had a lot of these. I want you to answer me a question I ask you. For the majority of the boxes in this companion, have I just told you what to write, or have you had to figure it out? Figure it out, and there it is. What about your class? Do you just tell them what to write in their boxes, or do they have to figure it out? This is the last lesson of Teach Effectively, and I'm really excited about this lesson because we get to talk about body language and tone. Remember, volume is loud volume, soft volume. Pace is really, really fast pace, really, really slow pace. And inflections up, inflections down. I can bring my volume up on both. Inflections up, inflections down. Same volume, but the one goes up, one goes down. Now watch this.
I think that it will definitely give us a greater edge at making our trainings a little more engaging, and then also tying and pulling the trainees into the session a lot more, which will definitely improve our engagement factor, which will help to improve our evaluations.
There's two things I've been able to put into practice already. One of them was I was able to control the amount of questions that get asked in my class, and I was actually able to complete my class early rather than going over time. I also set up my class in the beginning by telling them we have 5 minutes left, go ahead and do what you need to do now. And everybody was back before 8 o'clock, and I was able to start right on time. It was great. I felt totally organized and confident and started out the day just as I had wanted to.
I learned just some tools and tips to increase my credibility as a trainer. I'm very new at training and actually haven't trained my first class yet, so I feel like this is a really strong way for me to start by taking one of Jason's classes and starting off on the right foot as I become a trainer. Also, showing confidence through my tone and inflection is really important, starting off on a strong foot so that I can establish that credibility that's so important with my trainees.
So as a seasoned training instructor, the content of what I trained is not a challenge for me at all. I feel that I have a wealth of knowledge when it comes to that piece of training classes. However, I think that even the most seasoned trainers can always fine-tune their skills to help sharpen the saw or to help maybe improve some of our evaluations that our students fill out for us. Even just taking small techniques like the way that we hold ourselves, the tone and the inflections that we use, even small things like that can make a really big difference in what we do to help create a more positive class environment for both ourselves and our students.
I think the most important takeaways that I got from this class were managing my tone and body language so that I come across more confidently when I present, and a lot of techniques to use to keep trainees engaged throughout the entire day so that they never get bored and their attention doesn't wander. And then lastly, effective ways to assess how much they've learned and make sure that they're actually absorbing all of the content that we're giving them throughout the day.
Just a lot of techniques that you can use. Like Jason said, it's kind of hundreds of little things that make up your class, many of which most of us, me included, would have not given any thought to before. So just brand new things that you can consider. I kind of like to take what you like and leave the rest thought process that I can use a number of these in my class to really improve it. He gives you specifics right down to how to stand, how to use your voice, things like that that you don't give a lot of thought to, but as he explains them, they make a lot of sense.
It's extremely worthwhile. Jason keeps your attention all day long, and so you just find that you are learning so many actionable things that you can use right away, and you just definitely get a lot out of the courses.
Some of the things that I've gotten out of this class have been how to leverage my strengths that my peers and Jason have helped me identify, and how to use those to work on the areas that could use some improvement or maybe some personal goals that I have for myself.
I think that the assessments were challenging as a new trainer, but I think they were extremely useful, and they gave me a great boost of confidence once we had actually done them, and it was great to be able to hear from other people what my strengths were and some of the areas that I could work on more, because those are things that you don't always realize yourself when you're thinking about your own presentation.
I think what's most helpful is the easy to use and concepts that you can use right away, or tips that you can use right away, techniques that you can use immediately and that are pretty easy to incorporate into your class, such as the agree and see if you're right, the etch-a-sketch, and the buddy system techniques. Those are all techniques that I don't currently use that I could use rather immediately with very little effort to incorporate those in my class.
I have used some of these classes already, or some of these techniques already, and they have worked immediately. One of the things that I like to work on is to try to keep my questions in scope, and I was able to use some of the questioning techniques that Jason taught us by putting those into practice right away.
Sure, I think I maybe reach more learners, try just a different technique, make sure that everyone is engaged, make sure that everyone's following along with me and understanding what the heck I'm talking about.
The feedback that I've gotten from my peers has been completely invaluable. They've pointed out things that I haven't noticed about myself, as well as encouraged me to use some of the natural strengths that I already knew that I have.